Hi, on this episode of Explorer, we're visiting Adventure Mendota on the North Fork of the Holston River. During the first half of the last century, the area of southwest Virginia was connected by rail. Building a railroad through these old, rugged mountains was an incredible challenge for the railroad companies, but the result was reliable transportation, feeding the local mining and farming communities. One of the lines came from parts west through Gate City with a stop at Hilton's and Mendota before meandering down through the hills to Bristol. Bristol was in need of fresh produce to feed the many visitors that were dining at the restaurants and hotels along Front Street. The farming communities along the base of Clinch Mountain supplied Bristol with that produce, making Mendota a thriving agricultural community with a very busy depot. That area was called Poor Valley, and it's the same Poor Valley that you hear about in a lot of country music songs. But as passenger service ended, and there was less of a demand for produce in Bristol, it wasn't long before the rails were taken up, and access to the little towns in Poor Valley was only along small, winding roads. And the business in those once thriving little towns simply went away. The word Mendota is Cherokee for bend in the river, and the river is the North Fork of the Holston. The land around here is either steep mountainsides or flat valleys, and the river does twist and turn its way through this beautiful countryside. It's hard to believe that this area is called Poor Valley. This is Eve. She's a native of Mendota.
Back when this was a dirt road, my girlfriends and I, and I'll even say their name, Lisa and Katie, we would go skinny dipping. And we could tell by the dust off the road when a car was coming, and we'd sit real deep in the water. As soon as they left, up we came.
She and her husband built this place to retire, but it didn't take.
I wanted to find a means to supplement our income, just as I did when I was working, without driving out of the valley. I also saw Mendota from the time when I was a little girl. Mendota was a thriving, bustling little farming village, and it was fast becoming, or is fast becoming, a lost community. And I felt like with outdoor recreation, that might be a way to be a catalyst to having a store out here, or having people who are like me who may be able to work and live in the same place.
So she and Michael, her husband, founded Adventure Mendota.
We do kayaking on the North Fork of the Holston. When a guest comes out, for instance, we'll accept payment. We have them review and sign a liability waiver. We fit them with their PFD, we fit them with their paddle. Then we walk them down, we give them the rules of the river, because the banks of the North Fork are privately owned. So when they're on their river journey, they need to stay in their watercraft. And we give them a brief paddling demonstration. We're not a guided operation, and we feel comfortable on this mild river being that way. And we put them on the water.
So that's what we are going to do. The section of river that she is talking about snakes through this flatland on the south side of a row of knobs from the town of Mendota. The trek takes about 2.5 hours. To get there from Bristol, you go up Benham's Road to Nordyke Road, until it ends at Barn Rock Road. Take a left and look for the actual Barn Rock. Just past there, you take a left and look for a row of willow trees, and just past the trees is Adventure Mendota. Oh, don't come out here with an empty tank of gas in your car. It's 12 miles to the closest service station.
We learned that even though Mendota, Virginia is a long ways off when you're used to driving 10 minutes to get to your destination, we're 45 minutes from everywhere in the Tri-Cities geographic market, and that works well for us. We have a lot of people from Kingsport, a lot of people from Bristol and Abingdon, and this year we've had a marked increase from Johnson City as they've learned about Adventure Mendota.
So you meet a lot of people from different places, but you also meet a lot of people of different ages, stages of physical fitness, and many different levels of experience with a kayak.
So, and this is a Class 1 river. It's a mellow river. It's relatively shallow. We still treat that river with respect because you can drown in a teacup of water. So we never take that lightly, and we infer that to all of our guests. I always say 8 to 84. The oldest person we've had has been close to 90, and he did have his grandsons with him, and he had a ball.
When we went down the river, it was pretty shallow. In fact, we had some help with the kayaks when they would run aground.
Okay. Thanks, man.
But that's not a big deal, in that most of the river was less than a couple of feet deep. In this area, there are a lot of controlled rivers, and the Holston will quickly become a servant of the TVA, working for a living, providing power to the area. But at this point, it is free, and its depth is not decided by man.
Strictly by rainfall. Just depends on the season. You know, sometimes we have a wet season, plenty of water all summer. This summer we've had kind of a drought all summer, so the river's been pretty low.
One of the things that stand out are these narrow swinging footbridges.
Well, you know, this is the only kayak trip that you might come and when you're kayaking down the river, you might intersect with a couple of trucks driving through the river because we have fords. And in the case of one of the swinging bridges that we go on our route, that is the only access unless you're driving through the river or walking through the river, isn't it? And there's a working farm over there, so they have to have that swinging bridge. There's another swinging bridge, and it's kind of got an interesting story down by the trestle, and it's actually very needed and very necessary. Dr. Brockmeyer, who is the family physician here at HMG's Mendota Medical Center, when he goes to work, he crosses that bridge. Else, if he didn't, he'd have to do a long loop driving around. So for the little community doctor, that's his access to get to the clinic. So I think that's kind of cool.
There's a little bit of rain on the river right now, but to be honest, it feels good. This is a lazy trip, but there is a little effort involved. But for the most part, it's a gentle, breathtakingly beautiful experience.
You kind of get a little wet. It gives you a bunch of time to spend with the outdoors.
Oh, it was so much fun. Never been in a kayak ever. Colton's never been in a kayak, so it was a little apprehensive. Got in there and it was easy. It was so much fun. We went floating down there, all except for the rain, but even with the pouring down rain, we still had a great time.
I mean, you know, you're in a river, you wet anyway, you might as well just get a little wetter and go on. It was really enjoyable. Great place to bring your family and kids, and I'd recommend it to anyone.
This was just fun. It was quiet. You could talk to your fellow kayakers. You could just relax and let the world go slipping by. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Explore at Adventure Mendota. Do yourself a favor, grab the kids, get the dogs, get out and enjoy nature in this beautiful area that we call home.